I've always been happy to see other people succeed, which I think is a great blessing. I don't expect to be remembered. I mean, keep on batting to the last ball. So don't blame anybody for having made any mistake. You work with him so that he doesn't make any mistake today or tomorrow.
My name is Saad Malik. I'm professor of psychiatry at Shalamar Medical and Dental College. I am a great admirer of Babar Saab because in a country like ours, there are very few people who are so dedicated and who are so successful in changing the lives of so many people. I've always looked forward to an occasion when I could meet him and as a psychiatrist talk to him and perhaps explore those parts of his personality, life, those intrapersonal or intra-psychic values and thoughts that made him such a successful man, because I would like this to be an example for the millions who hopefully would learn from that experience. Babar Saab, thank you very much. It's an honor. Thank you very much.
First time I've been I've been talking to somebody who is not an ordinary academic, but somebody who is a specialist in a particular field that I know very little about.
I'm grateful. Let's begin with where were you born and how would you recall your early childhood?
I was born in Lahore. My mother came from the Fakir Khana family, and my father also came from Lahore, from a different part of the inner walled city. He came from a place called Chatta, which is a part of Mochi Darwaza, and my mother came from Fakir Khana, which is in Bhati Gate. So, but my father lived in, for the first many years of his life, he lived in Firozpur because this is where his father started his business. And he
That's
died
in India now.
Firozpur in India. Well, it was all in India at that time. And my grandfather, Syed Wazir Ali, died all of a sudden in 1900. So my uncle, Syed Hassan Ali, who was the elder brother of my father, and he was about 3 to 4 years older than my father, and my father couldn't have been more than 16 years old in 1900 when his father died. So the two of them inherited the business, which was a very small business connected with the British Army. And then the two brothers worked hard, built up the business, and when they found that they were big enough or large enough to move to Lahore, which was their hometown, so they moved to Lahore. I was born in 1926. My father was married into the Fakir family, as I said, in 1904. And we were a large brood. I was number 8 in a family of 9.
Achha.
So I was born in 1926. And I remember very few things of the first few years, but the first major move in my development was we used to have Bismillah, where you called in a Maulvi and you distributed sweets, and he recited a few verses of the Quran, and that was your introduction to into learning.
Right.
And then I was enrolled into Sacred Heart School, and I was at Sacred Heart School for a couple of years, maybe 3 years. At the age of 8, they sent the boys out.
Gee, right.
And so I was then, my elder sister, Suraya Begum, who was married to Mubarak Ali Shah from Shahjuna, he had attended Hson College. So she was very keen that I should go to Hson College. My other brothers had gone to Central Model School.
Gee.
So this was a big change in our thinking, and she was keen that I should go to a school which provided better opportunity and better education, was better known.
Yes.
So I was admitted to Hson College, and I spent 9 years at Hson College, went into class 1.
Achha.
And then I went right through the whole program at Jason College up to high school certificate, which was sort of the school leaving
Yes.
class. And then I was admitted to government college in third year.
Acha.
And I spent a year and a half at government college and did my BSc in
Right.
science and engineering.
Right.
And that was the sort of my journey
End
through
of
the
childhood.
academic world in Pakistan.
Babar Sahab, how would you, in your vision, what is the summary of life in one sentence?
Well, I mean, if you're lucky, you should have a happy life, contented life. And that comes through the attitude of the family itself.
Yes.
If there is harmony in the family, of course, led by the parents themselves, and if they treat all the children alike, which was what I saw with my parents, that they were, each of my siblings had
Yes.
the same attention, same love, same kind of weight as anybody else. So we were a very happy family.
But if the 4,000 students you have here, if they asked you, okay, Babar Sahab, what is your one sentence summary of your life, what would you say?
Be contented,
Acha, mashallah. Excellent.
work hard,
Yes.
and be satisfied with what you have.
Right. Beautiful. Looking back, what were the happiest periods in your life?
Well, of course, the student days are the best because you have friends and you have no responsibility other than performing well at your studies. But I would say that whatever I've done in my journey through life, I've always enjoyed everything. I've never been unhappy in any circumstances, whether it was
Acha.
working for the family or having given responsibility to work on my own. I was always contented with what I did because I enjoyed every minute of it.
Brilliant.
And that, I think, is what little I've achieved is because of my not running after things. Things came to you because you had done well in a certain field and people recognized it and they wanted you to be a part of their effort. Just to give you an example, I was working for the family and I had an opportunity to go to Sweden, and I saw an opportunity that we could do something with the Swedish company which was in packaging. So I came back to the family and said, there is an opportunity, I think we can get the Swedes to come with us. And they said, we know nothing about this industry. You are young enough, you've been to America, you've seen more than we have, and we'll give you the means to work with the Swedes, but you have to do it yourself.
Right.
We cannot give you any support. And this is how Packages was established. And we were very lucky. The Swedes it was a family company, so they were very forthcoming.
Yeah.
There was no hierarchy there. You talk to the owners of the company, and they accepted you because they felt that you had no other agenda other than to work together to make the company a success, in which they had an equity interest in all that. Because Lahore, at that time, I'm talking of the 50s and 60s, was not a very big city. There weren't too many industries. And so it came to the notice of the government, and it came to the notice of people in power. One day I got a telephone call from Mr. Bhutto. I never met him. He was then the Minister of Industries with Ayub Khan, and he called me up and he said, I don't know whether you know that Packages is as well known as for its roses as it is for its industry.
Yes.
So he called me up and he said, Mr. Babar Ali, this is Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. I believe you have a black rose growing in your garden, and I want that flower for my Larkana house. So I said, we don't have black roses, we have dark color roses. So it so happened in November, the flowers were in bloom. So I said, if you're coming to Lahore in the next few days, come and see it, and whatever you like, we can arrange that. So he came over, I met him and showed him that around the flowers. I never talked business with him because I didn't want to take advantage that he was the Minister of Industries and I was asking for something. So I just talked only about this thing. And so I came to his notice. So when he became the president of the country, and they embarked on this program of nationalizing industry, he told his people, he said, I want you to get Babar Ali to work for us. So I got a telephone call from a senior member of the bureaucracy in Islamabad to say that they wanted me to be the chairman of the Fertilizer Corporation. And I thought it was an honorary kind of a job. And I said, how much time do you think I will have to give? He said, we want you all the time. So that is how I was drafted into public service. And I must say, I spent 4 years in government, and I never had a single telephone call to say, employ this person or buy from so-and-so. Total freedom, because they knew that I was, I was totally dedicated to whatever job I did. So that was, so I can tell you that whether it was in the public sector or in the private sector, I have been very fortunate to have had this liberty to work independently, and I was given the liberty and the freedom to work the way I did. But I, followed all the protocols. I mean, working for government, every penny that we spent was totally accounted for. And they had a very rigid audit after I left, and there was not a single objection.
Babar sir, if you were to start life, if you were born again and you had to start life all over again, would it be different or just the same?
Well, I mean, in Pakistan it won't be different. I mean, because I saw the political arena very closely, because I had very good friends. I had people that I had access to who were in politics. I had some relatives who were in politics too. And this was something that was not for me, because it was not based on either ethics or on what the country needed. Everybody was for himself, and nobody was talking of what was good for the country.
So if you had to start all over again, you would do just the same what you've done?
I would do the same. Except that I'd spend, well, now I'm spending a lot of time on social work. I would have started in that direction earlier. But it's, I mean, to be involved with lumps, it's took, it's 40 years ago. So I was, 40 years means I was in my 50s. So unless you have enough money in your pocket, you can't think in terms of social work.
No, you can't.
So, I mean, I have always believed in writing the first check myself before I ask anybody else for money.
If you had to describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
No, I can't say that. I mean, it's a difficult question. I would say somebody who's keen to work with sincerity.
And one compliment you could comfortably give to yourself?
Not greedy.
In your life, can you think of one person whom you have met and who has inspired you immensely?
Well, I've been very lucky. I met some very good people. I would say in different walks of life in business, of course, I mean, apart from the fact that I had a very close, love and a relationship with my father and my brothers, who were elder to me. And my brothers treated me like their own son. And so, apart from my immediate family, my father and two brothers, and of course my mother, she was a very important person to nurture me, to mentor me, to guide me, but mostly on manners and on attitude towards life. Not to be jealous, not to be envious. Those are things that were driven home very effectively. And I must say I was very, very lucky, because one thing I've always been happy to see other people succeed.
Acha.
Never, I mean, envy is not the word that has come to
That's
my mind.
another compliment to you, sir.
Which I think is a great blessing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then outside it was Mr. Ruben Rousing, who was the head of the Swedish company that we. He took me under his wings. He treated me like a son. He was many years older than me. He was at least 30 to 40 years older than me, and he was a self-made man. So he was very generous in telling me how he grew up and what I should be doing. Then I had the opportunity to interact with some of the senior bureaucrats and some senior people who were not in politics, but they were prominent. Sir Zafrullah Khan was a very important person.
Foreign minister.
But he was almost a member of our family. Whenever he came to Lahore, he stayed with us. Then Mr. Gurmani, Nawab Gurmani from Muzaffargarh, he was like an elder brother to me. Spent a lot of time with him. So I had an opportunity to interact and meet with them. And then, of course, since I got involved with LUMS, I had the opportunity to meet with academics abroad, people from different universities, especially Harvard.
Right.
I had the opportunity to get to know the former dean of Harvard College, Professor Rosofsky. Spent a lot of time with him. So I've been very fortunate in meeting people, and I've met bankers because of the business. You run into bankers, you may run into people who are successful in business around the world, because they've been coming to Pakistan to sell their equipment, their machinery. So I had an interaction with them right at the top. We're not just talking business, we're talking about how things happen in their countries. And I was asked by a number of multinationals to be on their board and chairman. For instance, Hoechst, that was the biggest chemical giant in Germany, Hoechst. So I had the opportunity to meet their senior management in Germany. I had an opportunity to meet with Tetra Pak. It's a Swedish company that came out of the original Auckland Rousing that we partnered with. And and they selected the top people of the world. Then Nestle became our associate and a partner here. So I have an opportunity to meet with their people at the top. Not talking about our business, but generally talking about the world and how they saw it from their eyes.
There were many people who were a source of inspiration.
Yeah, and I was very lucky. I was, as you may have seen from my book, learning from others. I was kept on sort of adding to my learning from anybody that I met.
Absolutely.
So I've been very fortunate in that regard.
What was, what was the saddest day in your life?
When my mother died.
Acha.
And my father died.
That was the saddest day. How old were you then?
My father died, I was 35, 40, less than 40. And when my mother passed away, 10 years later, I was 50.
For these two occasions?
Yeah, these were, because I was, you thought that they'll always be there.
Yes. Do you still miss them?
every day.
You do?
Yeah,
I can understand, yeah. Any regrets in life?
No,
No. That's
because that is something which just eats you up from inside without getting you anywhere.
Absolutely.
No regrets. You be happy what you have, and have. God has been very kind.
As I'm going to read out some statements and I want your comments on that. It is better to be honorable than to be honored.
I don't think it's contradictory. I don't think you could be both honorable and honest.
Yeah,
Why one or the other?
because Pakistan there are many who are honored but are not honorable.
They both have to go hand in hand. You can't divide it.
Right. A man is guilty of all the good that he could have done, but he did not do.
Yeah, I mean, I have never looked at issues which have gone past. Look into the present and the future.
Ji, ji.
So don't blame anybody for having made any mistake. You work with him so that he doesn't make any mistake today or tomorrow, or yourself. I've made hundreds of mistakes, but no regrets.
There are two people in the world you need to make proud of. They are not your parents, it's not your spouse or kids. It is your 8-year version of yourself and 80-year-old version of yourself. Are you proud of these two people?
I'm not ashamed of anything.
I hope God gives you a very long life. How would you like to be remembered?
I don't want to be remembered because, for the simple reason that it's a false importance that you will be remembered. I mean, the graveyard is full of all
Rich
the
people.
important people. So I don't expect to be remembered. I mean, keep on batting to the last ball and be happy about it.
Right. If you had to address these students and tell them that there are sources of happiness, money hai, relationships hai, fame hai, health hai, power hai, contentment, which would be number one?
Be truthful. It will totally regulate your whole attitude towards life.
Even today, you think this will be...
This is a solution for all problems.
Okay. Where would you place money as a source of happiness?
I think the happiness is in giving away money, not keeping it.
And where would you place relationships in happiness?
Very important.
Very important.
It doesn't have to be with relatives, it has to be with friends.
And this one is in Urdu. पाकिस्तान के हाजियों की तादाद दूसरे नंबर पर है, लेकिन ईमानदारी में हम 160 नंबर पर हैं.
People think they can buy God.
Thank you so much.